Hi guys, this is Dan. Welcome back to my channel. Is it because me getting older? When I was younger, still need to go to school, you don't feel like time flies. But now it is June already. My birthday is getting closer, meaning that I'll get old but not wiser. But today's video is not about me ranting about not even like a midlife crisis, because I am going to talk about all the amazing fantasy books I finished in May. In case you don't know, I made a video last week where you can see me going through every single book on my TBR. So if you want a more spontaneous but in-depth reviews of this book, feel free to check that video out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Fantasy so you won't miss any fun bookish content from me. If you love what I create here, you may consider becoming my Patreon or visiting my Ko-fi. You can also follow my Instagram for more daily updates. All the links you need will be in the description below. You can also share your May wrap-up in a comment. Did you find any good book in this month? As usual, maybe we can begin with my reading statistics of May. In May, I can still keep up with my reading goal of 2025, which is to read 4 fantasy books in this month. I managed to finish 3 adult fantasies with 1 YA, which is quite a surprise to me because I don't normally go for YA, and later you will know the reason. I can finish 2,359 pages with an average rating of 3.25 stars. Compared to last month, it is slightly worse, but I mean April is like my best reading month so far in 2025. The total page count drops by more or less 500 pages, but I went out for holiday twice in May for the 2 May bank holidays. Considering it is not bad at all, right? But the average rating of May though, I struggle to come up with an excuse. I thought this month would not get this bad because I got like a most anticipated release of the year, and this book is so hyped in this SFF community. From this point, you can already tell this book didn't go as well as I thought, let alone I need to make a last-minute change to my TBR. But once again, I'll talk about it later when we reach that book. Maybe now we can move on and talk about these 4 fantasy books that I finished in May. The first book I finished is Relic of the Gods by Philip C. Quaintrell, the 3rd book of the Echoes saga. If you don't know about this 9-book saga, you can actually further divide it into 3 separate trilogies, meaning that I am actually finishing the first arc of this series, The Echoes of Fate. It is an high epic fantasy focusing the good old battle between good and evil, and in this series it is like a all-you-can-feast of an epic fantasy because it includes elements like human, elves, dwarves, magics, dragons, the evil god. Whatever you can imagine that is needed in an epic fantasy, this series got you. The story begins with the elves' invasion to the humans' kingdoms because they want to reclaim what they have developed long time ago. Coming to this last book, it continues with the effort of the Human-Elves Alliance to stop the rise of an evil god. What I do love about this trilogy is the structure itself. Narrative cohesion and the pacing is always a challenge in an epic fantasy series, but this one executes them quite well. From scene to scene, chapter to chapter, this plot just moves so seamlessly. This tight plot structure gives the readers the momentum to keep the engagement from the sprawling cast and world. The world building also evolves across this trilogy. With the more our characters explore, the more the new discoveries that would shock our presumption would come. Some of these discoveries, I do feel sympathetic with certain characters because I mean how they see the world totally change. The world building is not the only thing that grows, same goes to the characters. I enjoy the emotional development of Archer, which some of you, if you have read this series, you will feel like, what the F by the end of the story, because you are just invested in him. Rhaenys, the elf princess changing worldview, as well as Gideon's unexpected adventures too. The action in this series is also quite lively. It sometimes can help to break down the occasional chunky world building and serve as plot payoff. But if you ask me, yes, there is emotional development in this series, but I just feel like the author played it a bit safe. I think Quaintrell shies away from emotional weight like grief and loss. If there is some more emotional depth in this series, it would definitely be on another level. This can be seen from certain character dynamic, which could be complex. The groundwork is there, but the emotional payoff is underwhelming. And I also wish to see the supporting cast by the second half of this story. My favorite is definitely Doran the Dwarfs. I know I'm just being like really nitpicking here. It is still a very solid and enjoyable trilogy. If I can have that emotional connection with the characters, this could definitely be a 5-star trilogy. So overall, I give this one a 4-star. It is still a really good book. Then I picked up a very hyped fantasy book, which you can see in a lot of creators' most anticipated release of the year. I have The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. If I am being honest here, it is a bit of a letdown. Maybe because the hype around this book is just so strong. If you don't know about this book, it is a bit like the DC's Suicide Squad, where a group of villainous characters escorting Princess Alexandra, the rightful heir to the Serpent Throne of Troy. I like how fast the pacing is in this book. Although this book you can see is quite thick, it didn't feel like it due to its pacing. This book, if I am not wrong here, I think it got 4 parts, and each part can keep the momentum by alternating between the world building and the action. The rhythm can keep you hooked and don't want to put this book down. This book, if you can tell by its cover, we got 8 characters in the group, and this book adopts the multi-POV narratives, so every chapter will get in the head of like these villains. My favorite in this group is definitely and easily be the magician, and let me remind you, he is not a sorcerer. His storyline is really interesting and he is very consistent with what he wants, so the drama brought out by him is really entertaining. Maybe I am a really character-driven character. Reading this kind of morally grey characters with like really different character traits feel right to me. The action sequences in this book is also really lively, in a sense quite descriptive. My favorite is definitely the one by the third act. That was really messy and really chaotic, but really epic, and you can already tell how the idea of this spray edge coming from. Also, Abercrombie didn't shy away from topics like religion. If you don't know, this book was set in an alternate medieval time where religion is really essential to the ruling. It is just pure fun and joy to see how it gonna influence politics, behaviors, and morality in this world. But I just have 2 main problems with this book. First of all, I just find this kind of dark humor narrative and structure quite repetitive. This book is quite dialogue heavy or even use conversation to construct majority of the plot. But I just find this kind of chaotic, messy, problematic style of conversation quite overused and monotonous, which in a sense make certain characters sound quite similar. This makes me not until much later in the story. Finally, I got a sense about who you really are and choose who to root for, like the magician. This also makes certain characters in this book fade into the background because you can really see who got the spotlight, and I do feel bad for one of them. So I do question, do we really need this huge cast of characters just in the first book of this series? I assume it is a series because there's no way there's not gonna be any more books that is set in the same world. This goes the same to the structure of this book. You can already imagine there are other heirs want to try to stop this group of characters. So the first 3 parts follow a very similar pattern: world building, tension, and then conflict. After it, we will move on to the next part, which got this similar structure. If each story beat feels like a reset or what I would call a Team Rocket syndrome, It just weakens the emotional investment and flattens the narrative. I ended up giving it a 3-star, a decent but disappointing read. Maybe just because the hype around this book is just so high, making me feel like before reading it, I was like, yes, I'm in for a treat. But questionable, should I say. The action is definitely interesting. I like some of the characters and the plot is fine. I just wish once again there could be some more depth to the characters, or maybe just don't overuse this kind of dark sense of humor. The third book I finished in May is part of my 2025 reading plan. I have, it's heavy, Knife of Dreams by Robert Jordan, the 11th book of the Wheel of Time series. Coming to this book is just a relief from the flop of the series, Crossroads of Twilight. It really marks the turning of the series with the resolution of some long-running storylines. It is just so hard to summarize what is going on in this series because, we are 11th book into the series. The plot is getting more complicated. To put it really simply, it is about the good old conflict between light and dark. This kind of conflict is repeated throughout different ages, and only the Tafan got the power to alter this pattern, and we are now in the third age of this wheel of this story. So after finishing the 11th book, what do I like? Finally, different arcs that have been dragging, let's say Perrine and Fael, Max Escape, and then Elaine's Game, conclude, and they all end quite well and satisfying. Even for some of the evils or villains, they also got an ending. How it ends once again is so satisfying, and we have been following them since very early in the series and witnessing what they have done. So those endings is just good, satisfying is what I can say. In this book, surprisingly, I did enjoy Egwene more. Her agency and wisdom in the situation she is trapped in were iconic and just showcase her maturity. What I also like about this book is we are nearly reaching the end of the series, and I think we only got 3 books left. We got a sense of clearer build-up to the final battle called Tarmageddon, or the one that Egwene has to fight. Another surprise to me is I didn't enjoy, or I didn't give a F about Elaine or her plot in this book, particularly her stubbornness in ignoring her advices or the overly crowded Game of House plot. Her plot just feels so disconnected to the main one, and we don't really have any key characters. We do have certain theme thread, but we are missing a key character or a key group to link her to the main one. I guess the reason why I didn't enjoy this Game of House is because of its huge cast of characters. I can remember who are the leading houses in this game, but there are other supporting casts which is just so hard to keep up with the details. Most importantly, you know what? This game is over, and I honestly don't feel like they gonna return to the main series. Lastly, Perrine and Fael's plot come to an end. I wouldn't say I don't enjoy it, but the setup is across 3 books, so it kind of feel a bit draggy. But I do love how it ends. That hot mess by the end of that chapter is just so chaotic, and I was in for it. Overall, Knife of Dreams is definitely the turning point of this series. With so many storylines come to an end, we finally got a clearer sense of the final battle, and it is coming for us. I really appreciate the effort Robert Jordan has put in this series to construct this world. Let's say layers of politics, history, prophecy, and this Game of House, which I don't really like. I guess maybe just Elaine in this book, I need to give this book a 4-star. Massive improvement and everything is back on track. Finally, the last book in this wrap-up. Like I said, I need to make some changes to my TBR because I was running out of time by the end of the month. I really need something that is easy to read. So instead of reading a 800-page long Magician by Raymond E. Feist, I decided to read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I only added this book to my TBR because of the book talk video I made. I thought, siren coming. I thought that book was going to be fun, but it is just another disappointment. If you don't know, this book is about our main character, Evangeline, made a deal with Jax, the Prince of Hearts, because her boyfriend was going to marry her stepsister. In return, Evangeline needs to give Jax 3 mysterious kisses. This is definitely a fast read, and the writing is really lyrical and whimsical, but the substance underneath just feels a bit underdeveloped. Firstly, I didn't expect how misleading this synopsis is. The one I just told you about is more or less a rephrasing from the book, and it just captures the first 8% of what is going on. The rest spins off to something bigger, something broader, an adventure to the Northland. I thought this one is going to be a cute, whimsical fantasy romance, but then it just feels like a chaotic prologue for a bigger story in a sense. From whimsical romance to royal court politics, and then last-minute murder mystery. Alright, I did enjoy this murder mystery. It brings out some questions and tensions which works for me, and the general atmosphere feels quite fairy tale-like, which is also quite cute. But like I just said, the synopsis feels like a false advertising. I wish there could be inclusion of elements like royal court politics and the mystery. The bargain with Jax is just like part of the story but not the core of it. Also, as a main character, Evangeline just feels a bit too young to me, quite passive and rarely think about what is going on around her. But I mean, she is an adult in the story. She is talking about marriage. The world building is also possibly the weakest that I have ever read. The rules of the magics, the law of the fates, the roles of different regions, especially with the North, are quite vague. There is no explanation behind everything. The ending is just a cliffhanger. The final chapters just like easily and suddenly drop some new plot threads without any foretelling. It just didn't really resolve anything and act as a pure setup for the next book. But most importantly, this series is marketed as like a brand new trilogy. The synopsis didn't mention anything about any prequels or any series that you have to read first. But upon reading some reviews online, I just realized Jax, the Prince of Hearts, is actually a character from the previous series called Carolful, and I mean WTF. So I guess part of the reason why I didn't enjoy this book is I missed out the backstory of one of the main characters. Overall, it is a whimsical but empty read. Naive adult main character, no character growth, brief plot, no world building and false advertising, but sorry, I need to give this book a 2-star. So these are the 4 fantasy books that I managed to finish in May. As you can see, they are actually quite divided. I got 2 really solid epic fantasy, but the 2 really hype books like The Devils and Once Upon a Broken Heart just didn't live up to the standard. And I just wish that I could find a 5-star book next month. So, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Dynasty so you won't miss anything from me. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye.